And we are back with another Premier League predictions video. After a week that has really centred around the managers in the football world, not just within the Premier League, obviously with Ronald Koeman getting sacked with Barcelona this week, lots of talk about what could be happening at Manchester United after the disappointing result against Liverpool, which we'll get to when we go through last week's predictions. And on the lighter side, some really high praise coming in for David Moyes, and rightfully so, after a good result in the Premier League that we'll get to in a moment, and then being the first manager to beat Pep Guardiola in the League Cup for 5 years. So not all bad news for managers, but there's a lot of pressure on a certain few at the moment. Drop a like if you enjoy this series. Let's get into last week's predictions. And here they are. Not going to say much about my actual predictions themselves. Let's just get straight to the results and see how we got on. Arsenal and Aston Villa was a game that, to be honest, I was really impressed with how Arsenal played. They do seem to have hit a rhythm at the moment. Again, we were talking about managers. I think Arteta's managed to find his stride a little bit right now with Arsenal. They're playing really well, creating lots of good opportunities and scoring goals for fun. And Smith Rowe seems to have really stepped it up this season. Bit disappointed in Aston Villa. If you've seen my league predictions, you'd have seen I've actually predicted Villa to finish quite highly. I don't know what's quite going wrong with them at the moment. Maybe it's just a little bit of incoherence amongst the team, but they're going to need to start improving if they're going to make their way up the table. Chelsea and Norwich, I mean, it was no surprise that Chelsea won the game, but to score 7 without a recognised striker certainly is impressive, but probably says more things about Norwich than it does about Chelsea. They just look completely out of depth, which I'm surprised with considering how easily they did the Championship last year. I thought they would have learned their lessons from 2 years ago for when they were in the Premier League and got relegated, but at the moment it doesn't seem like it. Crystal Palace and Newcastle was an interesting result. I was very surprised to see Newcastle get that point, albeit from an absolutely brilliant goal from Callum Wilson. But surprised that Palace weren't able to back up their performances in recent fixtures in that one. So we've got no points there. Everton and Watford, I mean, what a result that is. I think even the most die-hard Liverpool fan can't deny that Watford winning 5-2 at Everton is the result of last weekend. Especially given how poorly Watford performed against Liverpool last week, losing 5-0 and then turning it around, getting a 5-2 win away at Everton. Real shock, that one. Leeds and Wolves, not getting any points there either. I know Leeds have their difficulties right now with injuries and whatnot, so I suppose that's my fault for not really reading into that enough going into that one. Southampton and Burnley, disappointed with Southampton there. They've been playing well recently, and Burnley seem to be sort of hit and miss at the moment, so it was a good performance for them to get the draw. City and Brighton, was really impressed with City. Phil Foden seems to be, well, if it wasn't for Mo Salah, probably the best player in the league right now. He just seems to perform every single time he's on the pitch. Granted, he just missed that penalty against West Ham midweek to cost Man City their place in the League Cup, but other than that, just really good performances from them at the moment. Brentford and Leicester, it was probably the hardest one to predict last week. I'm not going to complain that I didn't get any points for that one. It was a close game, Leicester just edging it in the end. West Ham, we already spoke about David Moyes' impressive performances as West Ham manager right now, keeping Spurs out with a clean sheet there, and then obviously beating City in midweek as well with another clean sheet. We predicted the win, so 1 point for that one. And then finally, the result that has caused me a lot of pain this week. Obviously, as you can see, I did predict Liverpool to thrash Manchester United quite comfortably. But even though it wasn't a shock for me as a Manchester United fan, it doesn't make it any less painful or any less disappointing. It's really tough to see how they come back from this. We'll get into my predictions for how I think they'll get on this week in a moment. But for now, that will conclude last week's predictions. An overall score of 5. I feel a little bit unlucky. I've been close on quite a few of the fixtures here this week, but just not got the rewarding on my own point system. So 5 points overall, resulting to a current season score of 51. Don't forget to let me know down in the comments how you got on and how you're getting on for the season. And now let's get into this week's predictions. Starting with Arsenal once again for the second week running. Arsenal will be kicking off this weekend's fixtures. They are away at Leicester in the 12:30 Saturday kickoff. And overall, I think this is a tough week of predictions, but this is certainly one of the more difficult ones. Leicester seem to have just about found their form again. Obviously, great performance against United a couple of weeks ago. Beat Spartak Moscow. Scraped to win against Brentford. Won in the League Cup on penalties. They're thereabouts, and Arsenal are playing well as well. I was very tempted to go for a 4th 2-2 Leicester prediction in a row. However, I'm just going to edge this one to Leicester. Vardy has a very good record against Arsenal. It looks like he is going to be fit enough for the game. I can see this being very open. I can see it being high scoring. So rather than 2-2, I'm going to go for a 3-2 win for Leicester. Burnley and Brentford, again, is a very difficult one. We just spoke about how Burnley seems to be very hit and miss at the moment. For me, this is a contest between two teams that play very similar styles of play. And from what I've seen of both of them this year, Brentford are the better at it. So, for no other reason other than that, I'm going to give this one to Brentford. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brentford away win. The next 3 fixtures are not going to be any surprises. Liverpool are going to be full of confidence after what happened, certainly against Manchester United, and then the reserves getting the win against Preston in the League Cup as well. Brighton played well against City. They just weren't good enough to handle the ability of the Man City players, and I can see it being the same scenario here. I'm not going to say they're going to get drummed, but I'm just going to go for a 3-0 Liverpool win. Same story for Man City Palace. I'll just put it straight up there straight away. That's going to be 3-0 as well, in my opinion. Exactly the same. City just don't look like conceding. I know they conceded to Brighton, but that was a penalty due to a very stupid mistake from Ederson, which really he shouldn't have been doing in that position. Defensively, they just look so solid. I can't see Crystal Palace having enough to score against them, although they do have a pretty good record against City. I just don't see it happening. 3-0 City. Newcastle and Chelsea as well. I only see this going one way. Yes, Chelsea still don't have a recognised striker, but it certainly wasn't a problem to beat Norwich last week, and Newcastle are again right down the bottom. New management for now, no real sign of a permanent manager coming in. It's probably still going to be all disjointed, and I just see Chelsea completely steamrolling this one. I'm going to go for 4-0 because, again, with last week, I think once they get that first, they'll just keep coming and coming and coming, and they'll eventually blow Newcastle away. Watford and Southampton is another tricky one. I have to go off of last week. Watford's amazing performance against Everton, giving them the edge for me in this game after Southampton's poor performance against Burnley. I'm going to go for 2-1 Watford. I could see Watford winning this by more if they play like they did against Everton, but equally I could see Southampton getting something if Watford slump back, maybe get a little bit too confident after how they played in that Everton game. Now for the main event of the weekend, in my opinion, certainly for myself as a Manchester United fan, the game dubbed El Sakiko by the internet, because it seems that the common consensus is whichever manager loses this game will get sacked, and if it's a draw, they'll both get sacked. From a Manchester United perspective, I don't see that happening. I think they're going to give Solskjaer this game, the Atalanta game, and the Man City game before they make any decision about his future, although for me, I think his time's probably up, and I can see him going after the Man City game. I don't actually understand at all the NUNO situation. I mean, Tottenham currently sixth in the league table. They're through into the quarterfinals of the League Cup. They've not had the best start to the Europa Conference, but they're in a position where they can easily qualify, and they've only been using their reserves in that competition. I know the style of football is an issue for the Spurs fans, but I think you need to recognise where you are right now before you start judging Nuno and saying he needs to leave because he's a problem. You're in a good position. You're doing okay. For me, this is a Nuno in and OLE out situation. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Spurs win because I just, as a Man United fan, I don't see anything changing. What he should be doing is changing the formation, trying different players, giving Donny a go, Jesse a go, Sancho a go, Cavani. Looks like Varane might be back, so he'll probably come in. But other than Varane coming in, I can't see Ole making any other changes. Maybe he puts in Sancho for Greenwood. I don't know. I just don't see it. I think he has this mindset of how he wants to play, and that's how he's going to play. And if we play like that, even though Spurs aren't playing amazing at the moment, they've got too much quality, and I think they'll beat us. And for me, if we do lose 3-1, Ole has to go at the end of that game. But that's enough about that for now. Manchester United rant over. Let's move on to the remaining fixtures. Norwich and Leeds. Now, if Norwich don't win this game, we talk about managers. For me, if Norwich don't win this game, then Daniel Farke's job has to be in major, major doubt. They're bottom of the league. They're yet to get a win. And they're going to be playing against pretty much an entire Leeds reserve/youth team. If you can't beat this team, Norwich, you do not deserve to be at this level. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and give you a 2-0 win here. They need a performance. They need things to change after that Chelsea game. And this is the absolute perfect team to play right now from a Norwich perspective. 2-0 Norwich. Villa and West Ham. Again, another really tough game. I look forward to watching this game. I think this one's the televised game on Sunday afternoon. It might be Norwich Leeds, but I think it is Villa West Ham, and I am very interested to see how this one goes. On current form, I can't back against West Ham and David Moyes. I'm going to go for another 1-0 win for West Ham. I think the way they've been set up defensively is so good right now that I don't see Villa having enough to break them down. We spoke about how incoherent they were against Arsenal. And I think unless Dean Smith makes a fair few changes, they're going to really struggle to break down West Ham. And I see West Ham just about having enough to scrape the win again. I say scrape, like, you know what I mean. West Ham, 1-0. And finally, the main event, the only game on Monday even, the only game on Monday, Wolves and Everton. Two teams that are a bit free scoring, but have both been struggling defensively as well. This is actually going to be my 2-2 prediction for the week, so I'll get that out of the way now. Again, a game I can see going either way. Maybe the conditions being different, being a Monday night, may play into it, but I can't really split them right now. I think if Everton would have beaten Watford like I thought they would, I'd probably go for an Everton win here as well. But if you look at the defending from the set plays against Watford, Wolves are a good team from set plays. And if Everton defend the way they did from set plays against Wolves, they're going to concede a fair few again. But I still think they have the attacking quality to break through Wolves as well. So yeah, can't split them. 2-2. And that concludes this week's predictions. Like the video, if you enjoy this series, do not forget to put in the comments your predictions for this week. And like I said, put your scores in for last week. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon.